Welcome to the Behind the Bottom Line podcast. I'm Adam Hayes. To my left is my co-host, Bob Paden. Across the table from us is our guest today, Pete Brown with Ash Interactive. Welcome.
Thanks.
Morning,
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, it is morning. It's a Friday. I don't know when this will be released, but it's always a good day on a Friday morning, right?
Friday.
Absolutely.
It's Friday, right?
Friday.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah. So how'd you get to, Ash Interactive? You came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of give us, a highlight reel of where you started out of college, or
Sure.
if you went to college, what that process was like, and then just kind of jump to your highlights over your career here.
Absolutely, yeah. So the highlights are I'm originally from Metro Detroit. Grew up in Southeast Michigan.
Can I pause you for a
You
second?
can.
Is Detroit style pizza a thing, or is this like a new marketing hype?
It's a brilliant marketing hype. It is a thing. Growing up for us, we used to go to a lot of what we call party stores, right? So that's kind of a liquor store and a deli and a general merch store jammed together. So if you're ever in Michigan, you say party store, that's what that means, or you see that on a building. Not so big in Indiana.
Yeah.
Right.
But
we have dog food and anyway.
Yeah.
Birdseed.
Yeah. So you go to a party store, and it's not like a party city, but you walk home from school and you go and stop and get a slice or something.
Right.
And the slices at party stores were generally these big square, puffier slices, not quite Chicago style deep dish or anything like that. There's a famous chain called Buddy's. Back home, it's Buscemi's and Mr. C's. There's kind of the local shout out, but like you would just go grab a slice and a New York seltzer. You guys aren't anybody old enough to remember?
No.
Wow.
What's that?
That was just a little tiny pop, that soda that would be just cheap, and you could grab it. It's just a fizzy, fruity, almost like a Sprite. They had different flavors,
Right?
You had a couple bucks in your pocket, you get a slice and a pop and walk home, but they were always square. Kind of rectangular,
Almost like the
Right.
high school pizzas, kind of thing.
Kind of, but thicker and actually good.
Nice.
Was
Kinda
the
like
crust
Little
kind of
Romans.
rounded up too, kind of like Little Caesars, or
I don't know about rounded, but it was like cheese all the way to the edge, so there really wasn't a crust to it. You know what I mean? Like when on a round pizza, you got the ring of crust. There's none of that in Detroit.
This is the part about the United States that fascinates me, right? Never heard any of that, and we're how many miles, right?
Yeah. Well, Jets Pizza is also kind of making their mark in Indiana in the last few years. But Jets, I believe, was a product of Michigan, and lots of kids in my high school worked at Jets, and they're the same way. Originally, just Detroit style, the huge rectangular cookie sheet full of pizza, and then cutting them into rectangles. And passing them out. So
cool.
Yeah, it is a thing,
So
but
it
it
is
is
a
a brilliant marketing hype too.
right?
It's like, I could just say Fisher's Pizza, right?
But
just make,
pizza is pizza, right? There's just different styles of it. It's dough, sauce, and cheese, and then your topping.
every pizza person out there in the world just jumped out of their skin, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the same.
Incite the riot in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Chime in.
Yeah.
New York, Chicago, or Detroit.
Oh yeah. It goes on and on. So started out there, did my undergrad work at Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. Since I was in fourth grade, knew I wanted to be an elementary teacher. So that was the career path that I started going down. So bachelor's and master's, both in education, elementary ed focus, and moved to Central Indiana about a little over 20 years ago now because of my wife's job. I was the elementary teacher. She was the PhD organic chemist. And when it comes time to find a job in that
somebody goes first. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, and I knew I could teach anywhere. I've been the more risk welcoming partner in this duo. And so find the place you're happy and let's go. And so she ended up at Dow AgroSciences, which is now Corteva.
Yeah.
And so when I transitioned professionally to Indiana, I was just like, done with education to the bureaucracy. It was no child left behind. It was you're now going to get paid based on your kids' test scores. It was we're in the early stages of sort of like the ravenous like attack parent.
Right.
Like my kid is the best, and you're singling out my kid, and people checking the homework that I just graded, and me having to teach them about American history and why that's actually not right. It was just getting weird because I went to college to learn how to help young people
not parents.
grow. Exactly. And they didn't prepare you for a lot of that. And I was like, there's a lot of junk in here I don't like. And so just started thinking about other industries that needed to help people learn, help people explain things, connect with maybe kids or maybe just the community. And I ended up in museums. So I worked at the Idle Jorg for about 8 years. Idle George Museum, downtown,
Yeah,
corner of
been
Western
there.
Washington. Yeah, the
Kids
Native
love it.
American and Western
Yeah.
Art History and Culture Museum. It's like the only one of its scale anyway, east of the Mississippi. So it's sort of, people have a lot of confusion about why is it here. It's got a great story. I'm not going to tell it. You should look it up, visit, and go to their website.
Fair enough.
So did that for about 8 years. And really ever since I've been a kid and got our first family computer, our first family over-the-shoulder VHS video camera, I've just loved creating with technology. I've always had little side projects and side hustles and stuff like that. I've always played music. I know we've talked about that in the past, Adam. And so I was always I've kind of always had a side business or a side hustle. But at the Idle George, I started in public programming and education. Eventually was creating a lot of content and doing other things for the museum outside of my job, which ended up turning into a role in the marketing space. And I was the new media coordinator is what that role turned into. And I was managing the website. I was figuring out this new thing called Facebook. And how do we use it?
Sure.
And what do we do with that?
Remember the days, right?
For sure. Yeah. And it was awesome. It was like perfect timing to start getting introduced to all this next level stuff. As I look back, I was like, wow, what a awesome blessing to be like, kind of create this new job and Pete figure things out and tell us what you're learning and help the museum grow and all that. So that was really fortuitous. Got way into video editing at a new level there, and also thanks to a good friend I made there, Takeshi Kamisato, who everybody should look up because his story's awesome too. So that's another episode for another day.
Nice.
But got into it there. Eventually had an idea for a mobile app that served the arts, and that got picked up by a social entrepreneur incubator. I'm fast forwarding through a lot of VC meetings, a lot of pitch events, a lot of all this stuff. But I basically was just afforded this awesome opportunity to have like a real life kind of MBA program. Like, you are an elementary teacher yesterday, and today they're calling me a tech entrepreneur,
right,
which I didn't think was accurate because I really was just using tech to connect people and educate
but you can't
people.
tell them
Right.
that. Yeah.
Well, exactly. That wasn't sexy.
No, you're a tech.
I learned a lot I learned everything I was saying wrong at every like VC pitch. Was awesome. And so did that, traveled around the country to museum conferences and doing all these, speaking events and just workshops and stuff, and sharing what I'd learned during my time in the museum and what I was observing in other parts of the country. And eventually continually was still doing website development, shooting videos, photography, real estate stuff, just using the skills I'd acquired to also make money. And eventually those services were just eclipsing the money I was making and mostly spending. It was mostly existing and running this company to support this company. And so in about 2017, 2016, the app was just it was done. And but I learned so much, and I didn't really want to go back necessarily to working for somebody else at that point. I just had 5-6 years of sort of like figuring it out. Yeah. And no playbook and all that fun stuff. So I was such a school hard knocks and just kind of learning from your mistakes. And so by the time I buried that, Ash was sort of already doing really well for itself, and just decided to go from the sort of playing middleman, where I can help put a plan together, but I've got 14 independent freelancers that I'm bringing in. I really wanted to make that transition to actually creating a business that had a team in-house, because I love conversations, I love camaraderie, and just being able to lean over and go, hey, what do you think about this? And so that was the model I really wanted to pursue as a business. And we did that in 2020 with 2.5 people. And so I had.
What's a half person look like?
Yeah.
You have to pick if you want from the waist up or waist down, 2 full-timers and a part-timer,
There
for
you
those
go.
who don't get Adam's joke. And just started rolling, and just went all in on the Ash Interactive services. And again, for the first time, for folks that don't know, our mission is really to focus on nonprofits and small businesses that are we're just trying to get you up to speed.
Right.
Yeah.
We are not. We have had moments of inspiration, but really our goal is not to be cutting edge, innovative, future minded. We're really just trying to take these organizations that are suffering or they've hit a plateau in sales or in growth or in just general exposure and get them up to speed.
Right.
So it's website development, lots of video and photography, graphic design. Our team now, as of today, is 10. And we're in a hiring process right now for a couple other folks. But, we try to have a team that offers a holistic bundle of like that whole marketing scape. There's a lot of folks that
Sure.
I make websites, cool, but I need a guy who does video, and I need a woman who does branding, and I need someone that can do my social media. And so you're sort of still parsing. I don't know, parting it out.
Parsing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And that was a real frustration that we were hearing from a lot of these smaller businesses and nonprofits where a lot of my team comes out
Sure.
of, was just like, well, who do we call when we need that? And so our goal was to really set up a team that could be that adjunct marketing team for you. So a lot of our clients might have one marketing person who actually has the word marketing in their title, and we fill in all the gaps. But in a lot of cases, it's a solopreneur. It's a real small, maybe 2 or 3 person setup, and they just need somebody to come in and kind of help. So yeah, there you go. That's the short.
That's the highlight. I can't not identify that you got Detroit colors on under your shirt. Yeah. Your undershirt there is Detroit.
But what's ironic is if I rip my shirt open like
There's
Superman,
a Colts logo on it.
Yeah.
it's a snake pit shirt.
Oh yeah.
From the Indy 500.
Wow,
really?
Yes. That's
Okay.
again another story probably for
Yeah.
another time. But I took my teenagers to the snake pit one year because there was a guy performing that we were like fans of, and these electronic artists are usually just known for playing like in the middle of the desert from like 2 a.m. to like sunrise. And I'm like, there's no way I can get my kids to a show. And this guy ended up headlining at the snake pit one year. And so I was like, well, we're going to have a nice conversation about what you're about to experience.
Right.
Because I've
Shield your eyes.
Oh yeah, because I've been a live music junkie. Again, growing up in Detroit, live music scene is, killer. It's killer. You can see shows 7 nights a week at 10 different venues if you wanted. And my kids hadn't really gotten into that yet. So I was just thinking, I had a lot of freedom as a kid for the most part.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm just going to tell you the stuff that I was seeing and the stuff that we're probably going to see and, just talk about it. So it was fun. It was an educational moment. They had a good memory.
Move it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a 7-year stretch, right? So, right.
From 2012 launching to 2020.
Okay.
So we're at about 12. We're at about 12 right now. But yeah.
So how would you summarize that 12? I mean, describe the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of owners, they start and they don't kind of know what's ahead. So it's like, to have owners describe that have been there, what should they expect?
Number one, I think they need to have a really strong support system. And that's not the direct to business, cut to business answer, but I think that a lot of folks that I talk to now that maybe where I was 10 or 12 years ago, the first conversation I have is, what does your wife think about that?
Yes.
What does your husband think about that? Have you looked at your numbers? Like, can you make no money and or lose money for the next 5 years and still will your kids be able to play soccer and eat, because I think a lot of it's so romanticized right now, right? Social media makes it seem
it's so easy,
so obvious. You just start a business, screw your boss, make all the money and keep it for yourself. And it's not how it is, and I think a lot of people are really tricked by that and they buy into that from an influencer or somebody that they see.
Sure.
And I was no different. I mean, I had delusions of grandeur because the people I was surrounding myself with at that time were the tech space, influential people in the business world and in the tech startup space. And it was easy for them as far as I could tell and as far as I was hearing and as far as I was seeing. And so I guess, having a strong foundation of people to fall back on and also a strong foundation of supportive people that are going to help understand that this is a journey and it's very rarely just that rocket ship ride that you see on social media. So that's really fundamental. And I think there's so many different angles you can do when you get into a business, right? I mean, we've talked about this before. The road that I took and probably you took and I know you took, I mean, we're choosing the hardest thing possible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of us need to acknowledge the fact that if you're starting something from nothing, then you are choosing to start at zero.
Correct.
And start working your way up. And that doesn't have to be the way that it always is. I think there's a lot of people that overlook the concept of buying another business out of the gate, trying to figure out, I'm not going to spend 10 years like hoofing it and hustling and scraping. I'm going to actually bust my butt working for somebody else for 10 years. And I'm going to put a lot of that money away. And then at year 11, I'm going to go buy a business that's already profitable, that already has a team.
Yep.
That, you know,
it's an industry they might already understand as well.
Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't know anything about what I was getting into short of side hustling for 30 years of my life, like incremental bit by bit by bit. Franchises. I know plenty of people that get into franchises, and they're people that like that playbook, and they like having they're sort of married into or buying into support systems. None of those three always work out, by the way.
Right.
That's for sure.
There's no promise for any of that, but I think that step 2 would be, sort of do your homework. If you really just like the grind and the hustle and the willy-nilly, sort of experimenting with it, and you have that support system, that's a great way to learn, and it can be a good way to get going, and also sort of have that romantic story down the road where like, I just hustled and worked hard and whatever, and it was fine.
Sure.
But depending on your life circumstances, again, I didn't, a different model might be a better search for you. So, I don't know. I can't even remember the original question. Sorry.
No, just the journey, right? I mean, and when you look back now, what are 2 or 3 things that, what advice would you give your younger self type question?
Yeah. Right? I think the soonest you can the quickest you can identify your niche and your target is always really helpful to you. It took a while of doing every single gig that got anybody who's waving $1 in my general direction. Boy, I was going to do whatever I needed to go get that $1. And it got me some great experiences and some horrible experiences, but it really quickly helped me know where I didn't want to work. I don't want to be in that space anymore. But you do what you need to do to make the money sometimes when you're going. And I think learning that as quickly as you can start sharing the workload with people, it's nice to do everything yourself, and it's horrible. It's great to have the education to know how things need to work, but you're also going to quickly find out that's really not my strong suit. I need to partner up or bring on somebody or outsource some of this to help with A, B, and C that I'm not really good at.
Sure.
And there's so many great books. So reading books and, it took a long time for me to find the right group of consistent mentors and like colleagues and friends, to develop those relationships. So I would also say the soonest you can start snatching up mentors and like-minded people and people who, are doing the stuff you want, where you want to be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, like surround yourself with those people. Because I found most people are generally kind, willing to give you some time, happy to share their story and can network and advice and things like that. So choosing your mentors and the people you spend time with wisely, I think, is also important.
Good feedback.
Yeah.
Good feedback.
So what are you seeing right now, kind of the state of the industry?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. I think my perspective is a little different, just because, again, we're not trying to be insanely innovative and insanely creating new product and new services, right? We're trying to help people leverage what's already established and what's proven for their business. So, I mean, obviously, earlier Bob mentioned AI. That is obviously the key word, right? And it has been, and it's existed forever.
You put it on anything, and the value just increases, right?
Yeah. I was a tech entrepreneur.
It's like sriracha sauce now. Right?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, it's people are scared of it. Small businesses don't understand it, and so I think there's a lot of misinformation and fear because people don't understand what it is. They believe what they see on social media, and they think robots are coming to take their job or whatever that is. But it's existed forever. In the digital realm, maybe not forever, but 20 years of just chat bots and the ads that are showing up on your feed versus my feed versus Bob's feed. There's elements of AI and all of that, right?
Yes.
And so it's not as just trying to help debunk myths.
Sure.
And say, just be aware of this. Don't, learn about it. Listen to the podcast, read the book, watch the person on the, on YouTube talking about it, and know a little bit, have your finger on the pulse maybe, but it doesn't necessarily going to overwhelm your life or change it that drastically, today. So
do you see your clients maybe overly focusing on it versus actually their business and what what they should be doing versus, hey, I need a chat bot because my friend told me he's got one and it's awesome. And it's like, your business, you don't need a chat bot, right?
Yeah. I think there's sort of a dichotomy there. There's the head in the sand, half that are just like, I don't know anything about it. I'm scared of it. I hate it. I don't want to use AI. I don't want to. And I still have people that are like that with social media, even Facebook and Instagram. So a good chunk of our clients, I don't like it, so therefore I don't want to put energy into it or money into it. Well, it's like, great, don't use it personally, but
your audience is there.
Thank you. Yeah. And every other business in the space is developing it. So even though you don't like it, let's talk about it. The other half, I think there's a certain amount of, well, maybe I don't need to work with anybody else anymore because now there's a platform that does it, right? We've all, thought about platforms. We've all known platforms that come and go. There's a fad, and I can pay $500 a month, and magically they're going to generate all my leads, and they're going to get me connected, and I don't need to pay these humans over here to do it. And then they figure out, well, it still needs a human to run it. It still needs a strategy behind it. And so we work with a lot of folks that have given those things a shot, and they don't understand it, and they're not seeing a return, and no one explained it to them. They signed up for a free account trial online, and then let, frankly, probably AI
do its
through chatbots or whatever, sell them a bundle, sell them a package on whatever they thought magic was going to happen. So, I don't know.
So, I mean, obviously your market predominantly is the non-for-profit space. What do you kind of see happening in the next, the rest of us, quote unquote, are in the for-profit space, and we kind of, economy, interest rates, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But in a not-for-profit space, what do you see their challenges, currently in the next couple of years?
I would say that the biggest challenge that I see as someone who's come out of teaching and someone who's come out of nonprofits and arts and social service spaces is just the difference is helping them come over a mentality of we can't do it and we don't have money.
Yes.
I mean, I can remember being at events going, wow, I'm filming this event for them because they have no money. And I'm talking as a freelancer, not at the museum, but I'm here for exposure, right? Because that's the big sell. You're gonna get in front of all these people. But I just see that pile of sushi right there. It's like 20 grand worth of sushi because I know the caterer who did it and I know what they charge. So there's a mentality that we can't do it because we're nonprofit. We don't have money because we're a nonprofit, and we're just need to be thankful with what we're handed as a nonprofit. And so that is a challenge that I'm very comfortable helping, comfortable overcoming. Yeah, very comfortable arguing about it. I'm very comfortable talking at a board meeting, going, "Hey guys, every single board member here needs to get their wallet out because we need $5 grand for this, and here's why we need it.
Correct.
Here's what's going to happen, and here's why we need to do it, and everybody here should be contributing." I really enjoy those direct sort of confrontational discussions.
Yeah.
I serve on a number of boards, and I have these discussions with my colleagues on these boards. It's like, you guys, we need.
Do you believe in the mission or not?
Yeah. And are you going to put in your time, your talent, or your treasure? Right.
Yeah.
And you have to, because a lot of these
and
boards,
sometimes all three.
Oh yeah, many times.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, is helping folks get over a mentality that's sort of been beat and injected into them, which is we can't keep up with anybody. Now is like the most optimal time on earth to keep up with anybody with all the free platforms we have access to, with the technology we all have access to. You are at a much closer playing field to Coke and Pepsi and Tesla than you were 20. Than you were 20 years ago.
And at a number that's not, crazy.
Yeah.
It's getting more expensive. But
well,
relatively comparison.
And the education is free on YouTube. Even thinking about, what was on YouTube when I was, deciding to be working for myself versus what's on YouTube today. It's unbelievable. You can learn anything you want. So
home improvement project, great place to go. So,
oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
Fixing your car.
Anything. Fixing your website.
Except your van this morning.
Yeah.
But yeah,
can AI fix my brake problem?
Not yet. So yeah, that's it. I think a lot of what we're doing is trying to overcome mindsets, help empower, and help demonstrate. Like, again, we've got a great network of people in for and nonprofit spaces. And there's been a number of occasions where, a client needs money to accomplish a goal in the marketing space. They don't have the money. It's not in the budget. We can write it in for next year. But by that time, everything will have changed, by the way.
Yeah, things pass them by. Do you see that inflation is having an impact in the nonprofit space as far as planned giving and the dollars available for planned giving?
That's a great question. I'm not a development expert, but I would say we have very few established nonprofits where money is a whole lot of an issue. Once you actually start talking about it, I feel like, that's based on what the services we're providing and the questions we're asking, we don't see a whole lot of problems with that. Now, does that mean that they're not pausing their capital campaign to go build a new gym or a new building? I don't really know that information because I'm not in that space.
Right.
But it seems like at a functional, just sort of like operating cost standpoint, we haven't had any pushback or any real, any
droppage.
Yeah. Nobody's like, we can't afford you anymore because nobody's giving.
Right.
And we're just going to make our CEO do everything you do, or the youngest person on the team do everything you do. And
since I got two marketing guys sitting here, right? I mean, a lot of times that answer is your marketing sucks. Right. And so you need to improve your marketing in order to get the money in the door that you need to operate. And so a lot of people obviously do the opposite. They'll cut the marketing budget because, it's not whatever, but then the spiral starts and it's not good.
That's true.
Yeah. The marketing shouldn't be a bonus, shouldn't be the icing on the cake.
Correct.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the first level of that multi-tiered cake, or it should be.
It's foundational to the organization. If the audience can't understand the story and the value that the organization provides to its constituents, then there's zero chance of success.
Correct.
At least sustainable success. It might be a flash in the pan.
You bet.
Yep. Anybody can pull one quick thing off.
Yes.
And get their 10 minutes of news coverage and press release on, whatever. But to keep it going, that's the real thing.
Yeah.
Continual innovation, continual learning, continually figuring out what are the gaps and how can we try something new.
How is our audience evolving, and how do we stay relevant with them, and how do we stay connected with them and deliver them value on a continuous basis?
And the experimentation that goes along with that.
Yes.
That's the other thing that's a challenge for profit, nonprofit,
that
anywhere is what's the ROI?
Correct.
If I'm going to spend $1,000, how are you making me 2,000? And marketing doesn't work like that.
Right. I mean, there are some aspects of marketing that do, and I think that's kind of been an industry challenge. If we're just open and honest about it, is people diving at those squirrels, right, and saying, "I need instant ROI." Well, you can't get instant ROI except for in some rare cases. Without building foundational elements that really connect you to a story, that connects that story to your constituents and your audience and demonstrates value, and then you give a good experience of your product and service, and have this full service, full circle, holistic approach to your business that is sustainable. Not one campaign that you throw against the wall and hope it sticks because you saw some influencer on TikTok. That is not a strategy.
Or I'm going to hire an influencer for the next 2 days.
Good
spend
luck.
My entire yearly budget,
and it
produce
unfortunately,
2 TikToks.
people then do a couple of those things, and then they convince themselves that marketing doesn't work. And it's not that marketing doesn't work; it's that you approach it the wrong way and committed a random act of marketing.
I like that.
I like that.
Marketing. It's totally true. It's like when we say, "Well, what have you done with your ad spend on some meta ads for Instagram and Facebook?" Well, we boosted a post last year and we didn't even make any money off of it. Okay. Well, you click boost and you donate.
Boost.
That is not a marketing strategy. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called a Hail Mary.
Yeah. I call it a donation to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
Like, did you want to buy Mark lunch that day? Then boost that for $20. Great.
Well,
it's going to be gone like that, and it's going to get you nothing.
Right.
Like people in Ghana are going to love hearing about your cupcake business in Avon. Like that money is just gone as soon as you click it. So
Wow.
Yeah. I think to pivot also off of what you were saying, it's like you just need to try things. And a lot of times, especially again, when I was starting up, you don't have the money to try things. So start trying things yourself. Do it with your own time,
Correct.
And start to maybe educate yourself through trial and error, before you maybe bring on a, Hayes or Ash, say, here's what I've tried and I'm really struggling with this. I don't understand it well. Be real, be humble.
Yeah.
Come from a position of understanding, and I've tried stuff and I've done the best I can. But now that I've experimented, here's what I'm seeing. What do you guys think based on this information? Versus coming in from a position of like, I hate that I'm here in this marketing company's office in the first place.
Right.
Because now this guy's going to ask me for $1,000 or $10,000.
Right.
And I got to try and get him down to 5,000.
Yeah. How do I know if this is the right approach for my business? Right. Yep. And, I mean, literally 85 to 90% of the clients that we have come in this door have been beat up by another service provider, right? Whether that's an agency or freelancer, and they've been taken to the rails, right? And they've just overbilled and underserviced and undervalued. And it's a long walk back for us to get them understanding where it went wrong for them and what the right approach is.
Correct.
That's a great point. And because all these tools are so accessible, anybody can create a website that makes them look pretty good.
Correct.
And everybody's cousin's nephew is a web developer or a graphic designer or a photographer. And so they start taking these cheap, the least expensive shots they can get, and then they devalue the whole industry. And that's tough too.
The rest of us have to fight to get past that hump. Right?
Oh yeah.
And we can. It's continual education, right? Like you talked about, and it's ongoing education. And I think, at least I'm seeing, the people that are coming into us are more open to the conversation now than they have been in the past. Agreed. Right? I
think it's maybe run a cycle. Maybe.
Yeah, it's run a cycle where they're like, you're right. Absolutely. I see it now.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to go.
That's correct.
Again, learning through failure or learning through the wrong choices.
Unfortunately, the only way.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, right? We're all human beings, and the more authentic and transparent we can be with each other, then we can get to something that's real and help each other. And if it's clouded in mystery and BS, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So what do you see happening with Ash Interactive next couple of years? What do you focus on?
Oh gosh. Well, I think in a nutshell, the thing I'm trying to think of is sort of twofold, right? It's how do we help more people? And I've also been doing this now for 12 years, and eventually, I still have a couple more years left, Turned 45 this year.
So have this yet.
Yeah, I did shave this morning now, mostly. Anyway,
mostly.
I missed the spot. I realized on my way up here. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to twofold this. I think we initially were established in Pike Township in Indianapolis, kind of on the northwest side, and that was great. We've been in Hendricks County now since 2020, and have just had a great experience there. We still do work in Indy. We've got lots of great friends and contacts there that we get to work with. But I really wanted to test out this model where we were trying to provide almost geographically,
almost a community based.
Yeah, being more community based and setting up those relationships. And the team has just done a really solid job of establishing that. And we're working in many other regions as well. But one of the things I'm really experimenting with is trying to replicate the service and the community building that we have done in other communities. Gotcha. And so, for us, we're focusing on other parts of the donut counties. So we've got some folks that are focusing on the north side, and we've spent some time in the south side and different counties. And I think it's a really, the model can be replicated. And so for me, as the visionary big picture, I'm just thinking, how can we start popping up pockets? How can this either franchise, for lack of a better term, or can it just be replicated in different communities?
Sure.
We've seen the growth of our clients. We've seen the empowerment and just more pride and energy behind a lot of our clients in the nonprofit space. And let's face it, these are the people that are helping people in your community.
Right.
So we want them to grow. We, internally we say we like helping people that help people. It helps us, our mission, feel good about the work we're doing versus just making somebody else more money.
Right.
That's good too. There's a time and a place.
Sure.
But based on what we've seen, I would love to see this, just pop up. And so we're planting seeds. We've got a few other friends and colleagues and contemporaries in different parts of the state, and I'm in Ohio and Michigan we're talking to, just trying to figure out how do we start to nurture these new pockets that are doing good, right?
Sure.
And so that to me is sort of big picture. How do we start looking at that and scale and help more people? But also, how does that make Ash a more valuable company too, as I look to the future, whether
A future exit someday.
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So is it, my kids aren't necessarily that hot into it, which is amazing. Because like I would have killed it if my dad would have been like had all the toys we have and all the electronics. I was just like, oh my
gizmos,
god. I was like, my kids, I'm gonna have to stop them from playing with video cameras and editing stuff. And they're like,
sure,
that's what your dad does. They probably, who knows, they want to be accountants or something. We'll see. But so just figuring out what's the future. What does the future look like? It's you never stop learning,
Yep.
and you never stop. You can't turn off your brain and just not write down 15 different plans and go, well, what if I turn this way, or what if I turn that way or that way?
Sure.
I think that's really important. And I think going back to the earlier question, even that was something I spent a lot of time doing, and I encourage others to do too, is think about where you're going. The direction you're going today is great. Think about that, but also think about
the end game.
Yeah. And what if you made a hard right tomorrow?
Right.
And what if you made a hard left tomorrow? Where would those take you if you just focused on different niches or different new services, or only decided to do one service starting tomorrow? How would that change? It just helps you think from so many different angles about where the business could go or where it should go. And I think that helps add clarity when you go through that. I mean, those of us that had the either advantage or disadvantage of going through COVID, right?
Oh,
I mean, COVID was horrible. Of course, it was great for us because we pivoted. We were able to go, we do these marketing services. Well, now we're shut down. Now what are we going to do? Well, we turned into live streaming. We leaned into live streaming. We leaned into creating virtual events and doing virtual tours and hosting webinars and podcasts in a way that we never really wanted to put a whole lot of effort into on our original path because there wasn't demand for it, right?
Right.
All of a sudden we're getting calls for, hey, my Catholic school, we worked with probably every Catholic school in central Indiana for their fundraiser. Because, man, if we don't get that $50,000 that our annual gala or event raises, then we're in trouble. No matter what the scale of that raise was, we were traveling all around the state, loading up the car with gear, driving 3-4 hours sometimes, and setting up multi-camera live streams, helping ideate with the people who put this on. Well, every year we normally have a magician, we normally have a band, we normally have a what do they call the guys that make the cocktails?
Mixologist.
Yeah.
And so we're brainstorming. I'm like, great, we can still have a mixologist. We're going to Zoom him in from our studio.
He's going to have cool recipes.
Yep.
And where you're going to mail everybody or have a drive-through a box of stuff. It's going to have a shot glass and it's going to have a whatever
shaker cup.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's going to have.
I missed that too.
Yeah, we had one client that was sending out packs of cards that were branded to the event, and people were learning card tricks from the magician. We were zooming in a band who's. And these people are hosting small gatherings because we could do that for a lot of years. And they would come by and pick up a box that had all the ingredients for making a meal. I mean, it got really creative and interesting. So it was a really sort of fun, innovative time to be coming up with solutions, right?
Great time to be shut down, right?
But how many of our friends don't exist anymore?
That's correct.
Because for whatever reason, they weren't able to. So, that's a great trial by fire that a lot of businesses starting today, hopefully, will never have. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Pete, how can people find you?
We're pretty easy to find. If you Google Ash, just ASH Interactive, you'll find us at Ash Interactive for our socials, Facebook and Instagram. We're also on TikTok and YouTube. But we're pretty easy to find, and our team is fun, making cool behind-the-scenes content. We've got one coming out today, and I know this will come out at a later date, but we just got some swag. We just sort of leaning into it now.
Nice.
Got some quarter zips and hats for the team and that kind of stuff, and you're all beautifully branded. Practicing what you preach. And I'm in a plaid.
I'm in gray.
But
you got Detroit colors on, so
that's right. So represent.
And if you're driving down the main drag at Brownsburg, you'll definitely see your buildings.
516 East Main Street on in Brownsburg, and our building is covered in murals.
It's really cool.
Yeah, whole street art mural thing is a big part of big interest for me, part of my life, and everybody's welcome to stop by there too. We have a lot of art in the space. I argue. I don't even know if I need to argue, but I think we have the best contemporary art collection.
I agree.
In Hendricks County, at least. just in our building. So if you're an art lover and want to see some stuff that's a little more unusual, stop by.
Right.
Give yourself a tour.
There you go. Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
I'd like
thanks
to
for
have you on
having me.
again sometime in the future.
We'll love it. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks.